Welcome to Podcapers, the official podcast for a place to hang your cape. And this week we're talking with Mark Adams from Hellbound Media, but before we're going to do that, we need to do this. Thus ends the second Elizabethan era. Now let's talk about comics. Cue the music! Hello there, Capers, and as I said, welcome to Podcapers, the official podcast of a place to hang your cape. My name is Scott James Merridew, and this is the show where we talk about various geek and nerd-related topics, and I'm joined each week by a very special different guest. He's been on the show before, way back in the mists of time. Give it up, Capers, for Mark Adams! How you doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm good. I've got to try and match that energy. It's a hard task to do, but I'm willing to give it a try.
A lot of people suggested I switch to decaf. Never!
No, you need coffee. Coffee is like the fuel of comic creation, I feel. We wouldn't have nearly as much good comics.
I mean,
coffee.
I actually don't even drink coffee. I used to drink coffee in university, and I was like Woody Woodpecker. I was bouncing off the walls. So now I just drink tea, which has just enough caffeine in it to keep me going. And frankly, I need to be kept going right now because the country that we both live in is in a bit of a state. Not long after getting yet another unelected prime minister, we have gotten a new monarch. The Queen is dead. God save the king. Long live the king. It's been really, really strange for us because this seemingly permanent and infinite part of our lives, maybe the background of our lives, certainly, but still our lives, has gone. And now we're in this new era where I don't think a lot of things will change, but change is going to happen. If not on the monarchy side of things, then certainly on the governmental side of things.
I mean, do you know what's really kind of weirded me out? Because it's such a background to our lives, you know, she's been the Queen the entire lives. It's all the funny little things I hadn't really thought about, like the owl pen. Now, the owl pen has the little royal crest, you know, it's used by the royal household and lots of other goods. Baked beans as well, they have the little crown you get on them, and they have to prove that they're used by the royal household. Now, those all have to change, and all the products have to prove they're being used by the new royal household, and they have a new crest on them. And it's something I just never occurred to me. And the coinage as well. I mean, we're just going to change every bit of coinage, or how long is that going to take?
Well, the way that works is, and I've looked this, I won't go into too much detail because that's not what we're here to talk about, but basically in about a year's time, the currency will start to switch over. We will still use coins and notes featuring the Queen's face for decades to come. It'll take a long time for them to go out of circulation, but we will get King Charles III's face on all the coins, and he'll be facing the other way that the Queen did. It's going to be because apparently they have to switch over every time there's a new monarch. Yeah, it's really weird. It was especially weird because I live in Edinburgh, as many of you capers know. The Queen came here to lie in state in St. Giles Cathedral for 24 hours. I sadly did not get a chance to pay my respects because the queues were fucking massive, the crowds were huge, and I live way in the north of Edinburgh in Leith, and all the bus services were cancelled. Frankly, getting up there was going to be too much of a faff, and once I get that, I would have been waiting all day and probably wouldn't have been able to see her at all. And consider the fact that before then, I was working. My day job, I am a tour guide, though I wasn't technically working as a tour guide then because our routes were all cancelled because of the police presence and the crowds, roads being closed and things like that. So I ended up being beside certain routes, telling people, hey, just so you know, tours around the city are stopped now. Have a good rest of your day. That was fun. But it also meant I got to see people 2 days beforehand lining outside St. Giles Cathedral, waiting in anticipation to see her. So yeah, it was a big deal. And a lot of people outside the country, I think understandably don't quite get it. There's a lot of people in this country that don't see what the fuss is about, and that is fair. I want to be clear, I am not a monarchist. I'm not anti-monarchy, but I'm not like, oh, let's all kiss the Queen's feet and let's pay homage to the royal family like it's fucking 1499. But this is a part of our culture, and it's part of our constitution. It's part of our government, and it's now changed. And change is part of life. That is what happens, and we're going to be able to do with it just fine. And the fact that we are probably going to see, if we live long enough, 4 different monarchs in a lifetime is a scary thought. But we'll make it through it. Especially when we've got such lovely distractions as faith healers. New Kickstarter for the new comic coming out now from Hellbound Media. We're going to get all into that in just a moment. Before we do, though, Mark, who are you? What do you do? What are you doing in my house?
Well, I thought you'd never ask. I was trying to take your TV, but you caught me. No.
Joke's on you, I haven't got anything worth stealing.
Nor have I now. We've just moved. I'm recording this podcast from an empty shell of a house to avoid the screams of small children. But who am I? I am one half of Hellbound Media alongside my co-editor, writer, creator, Matt Warner, who I am eternally going to get muddled up with because we are Mark and Matt. And we basically are indie small press business company, creators. I feel always a bit awkward saying, company when you're dealing with such creative things, but we are actually a registered company now, which is quite, I know, quite
LLC,
scary.
PLC, I don't know what the difference is.
Limited, something, I don't know. But we say a limited company. But
make sure you know when you fill out your tax forms.
Yeah.
Just saying.
That's really important. Well, that's part of the reason to do it because, we're still small, we're still independent, but it just helps separate the Hellbound Media product from our own personal lives, which is definitely what you need going on. And we go
especially in these new days of tax cuts for all the incredibly small businesses. Now this government has introduced this new mini budget. A lot of small businesses and individuals are going to experience much better tax. I'm just kidding. I couldn't. I tried. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. No. Instead, they're going to get rid of the laws against fracking.
Being political is fun.
Oh, I love that soundbite. Where's that from?
I don't know. I think that's Norm Macdonald. I just find these things. They just appear on my computer. I don't know where. It's a lot of fun. Absolutely. We will go more into Hellbound Media and this Kickstarter and everything relating to that. Before we do now, we've got to distract ourselves from something or the political stuff going on and talk about something that is ultimately of no real consequence. Pop culture news. That's right, kids. It's the news. Okay, I've got, I don't want to say mixed news, it depends. I think this news is very much, good or bad, is dependent on your perspective. This first one I think is pretty much universally good news. It's not something that interests me particularly, but I thought it might interest you, Mark, because there's a new trailer been released for a new Hellraiser movie, titled Hellraiser Pinhead.
Is it? I don't know if,
apparently.
I haven't heard that.
Oh, no, it isn't. No, it isn't. Sorry, I'm misreading the article. I've got the article up here, and it says Hellraiser, Pinhead has new victims, and I just read that as Hellraiser Pinhead. And I guess the article's title was Has New Victims, like Has Cheeseburger, but for homicidal cats. I don't know.
Yeah, oh my God, I can Has Cheeseburger. Back in the day, I remember there was this whole, because I was, actually, you're right, it interests me. I was part of this sort of Hellraiser community, as it were, online. And there was a whole range of Hellraiser cheeseburger memes, which was just bizarre. So that's a surreal bit of history.
And I have sites to show you.
Yeah, all those kind of ones.
God.
dear. But yeah, I'm really excited. It looks absolutely stunning. I will say it looks absolutely stunning. Now, Hellraiser, to say, is really big for me. We are called Hellbound Media, named after Hellbound Hellraiser 2, my favourite film.
Oh
so,
wow!
you know,
Okay, I did not know that. This is all a massive
Yeah.
coincidence.
Yeah,
Even that,
no.
I'm really good at research.
yeah, well, let's go with that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I've me and Matt started off we met each other through Hellraiser, basically through Hellraiser fans doing Hellraiser fan art. Weirdly enough,
Oh.
and a lot of our early comics were by artists friends of ours who we knew as Hellraiser fan artists, and it just came out of us going, "Hey, you're these brilliant artists who can do like comic art. Let's actually do some original comics." And they went, "Yeah, sure." And that's literally kind of where we started. So it's interesting you brought that up.
Well, because I mean, it's a new thing, so that's why it's coming out. And also, it is a long-running franchise. And I have I am not a horror guy. I mean, I say that I am a little bit of a horror guy, but I like spooky, scary, fun times, less pants-wetting terror. I don't like scary films per se, and so I stay away from these kind of films. But I will admit, I have. Yeah, you ever watched this YouTube channel called Dead Meat?
No, it sounds intriguing.
They do this. It's this thing run by these guys, and basically they do the thing called the kill count, where they list and analyze briefly all the kills in horror movies. They do all the long running horror films. I just watched today actually one of their videos on some of the Chucky movies, the Child's Play movies, and that's a palatable way for me to absorb those films because I want to watch them. But I'm too much of a fucking coward. I'm a cowardly custard who couldn't cut the mustard. So I watch them through the lens of this YouTube video where they talk about it in a slightly, humorous but still analytical way to give me insight into a part of cinema that I have great respect for, but I don't ever want to fucking watch.
I like that.
So I watched some of their videos on Hellraiser, and I will admit, it's sort of fascinating, the stories and the way that I think Clive Barker is just a really interesting kind of guy in the stories he tells.
Oh, completely.
Which makes it even more disappointing, the fact that David S. Goyer's with this film.
He is, but on the other hand, David Bruckner is with this film. And and if anyone's seen The Ritual and the trailer...
Which I haven't.
Which is brilliant. Which really goes into kind of eldritch gods in the woods kind of thing. Starts off
I think I saw the trailer for this. I think I did see the trailer for this. It's like it's sort of not a low budget, but a British film. Did it have like Rafe Spall in it, or
yes,
not Rafe Spall? Oh no, it was Rafe Spall. Yes.
Yeah, yes, it was. Yeah, that was great. So that was really strong. And looking at this trailer, so many Hellraiser fans were shocked that it's going back to the mythology of the first two kind of films, because they show the labyrinth, the Leviathan briefly appear, and these were things that kind of got jettisoned over the years. For, I suppose you could say, when it started, it was a bit more. I mean, I've also written I'm a teacher and academic in my sort of real job, air quotes, and I've written on Hellraiser. I've been published on Hellraiser a few times, including looking at how...
That's a good job to have when you can do that.
Including looking at how the franchise went from a more Lovecraftian, slightly agnostic kind of world building, where, going for the original concepts of the Cenobites as sadomasochistic creatures.
Do you
from
like
another
Lovecraft,
world.
but are turned off by all the racism? Try Clive Barker.
Exactly. But they became more conventionally demons from hell, and they kind of narrowed it down a little bit. Whereas looking at this trailer, it's gone back to that kind of otherworldly,
extra-dimensional sort of...
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And
that's
for me,
what sort of
loved
fascinates me about that, because we've seen the hell thing, that's been done. What we have here is not people who are evil necessarily, they're just alien, an alien in its purest form. Because the whole thing about the Hellraisers, Pinhead, and all that sort of Cenobites, that's what they're called, Cenobites, is that they literally just cannot distinguish between pain and pleasure. And if you want a full comprehensive breakdown of what that fully entails, you can watch that Rick and Morty episode. For the rest of us, we need to move on now to another bit of news that I'm not happy about, but I'm sure many people are. Keanu Reeves has announced that he's returning for a Constantine sequel.
Oh no! This is much worse.
I didn't like that film. I think I'm one of the few people that didn't. People liked it when it first came out a little bit, and of course people are now obsessed with it now because Keanu Reeves is really in right now because for a brief period there he remembered how to act. And here's the thing with Keanu Reeves. He's a good actor. He is a good actor. But for a long time, he chose not to act. He refused. And then he started up again when he grew that beard and grew his hair out. And suddenly, it's just like everyone remembered. And it was just like, hey, yeah, okay, he's good now. Can we remember, like, the post-Speed years? Do you remember that? No, because Constantine was right in the thick of that, and it was shit. It was absolutely shit. Where was my blonde Liverpudlian chain smoker? He was gone, replaced by this wanker.
See, whilst I agree with the sentiment there, I think as its own film, it's kind of well done. But
I couldn't get past that. I couldn't.
Yeah, no, I completely get that. On the other hand,
now that we
Tilda
have
Swinton,
had more faithful
beautiful
representation of John Constantine in like the small screen and animation and things like that, maybe now I could get back into it, possibly. Part of my problem with this, though, is this has got the same sort of feel about it as the fucking Matrix Resurrections movie, the Bill and Ted 3 movie. They're just being made to capitalize on Keanu Reeves' success, which is not the worst reason to make a movie, but it's not a great reason because ultimately it doesn't. It's a flash in the pan idea, and that'll be. I mean, let's be honest. I didn't go and see the new Matrix movie because I just did not care. But I knew there's some people out there who did care, and I've seen little to no discourse about that online after it came out. A few initial reactions, some people talking about it for a little bit for a couple of weeks. Now, months later, no one is talking about it. People were talking about the first Matrix films, all three of them, for years after they came out. Now the fourth one's come out, no one gives a shit. At least that's my impression. And it makes me just a little bit worried.
I think for me, I kind of think there's a difference between the executive moneymakers, and I think this is perhaps encapsulated very well when we look at something like Disney, but I think it applies to everything. You look at the decision makers up top with the money and the rights and the ability, but then you have to come down and look at, well, actually, are the actual directors, the filmmakers, are they making it with a passion? I think that's kind of more important, whatever the reasons for the people up top to do. So, you know, you might have Sam Raimi or Taika Waititi doing a Disney executive film, but as long as they get to put their stamp on it and have fun with it, I think there's an element there that should be appreciated. I think it's not black and white, as it were. I think there's something to be said for genuine creative talents doing their best within a corporate system.
I would hope so.
And I think that goes with Keanu Reeves as well in these films. You know, you hope you're going to get some creative.
He's trying now. He's putting a lot of effort into it. He returned back for the DLC for the Cyberpunk game that's been announced. So that's going to happen. So I think you're right. I think there is maybe a little bit of separation between the people making the films and all the studio executives who are like,
we've got to have money.
I love that. Oh, yeah, that's exactly.
No prize to the person who guessed where that reference is from. So the third bit of news we want to talk about is that this is basically just like announcement sort of things. It's been announced, Henry Cavill announced that the season 3 of The Witcher on Netflix will premiere next summer. So summer 2023. Whereabouts in the summer that is, who knows? That could be anywhere from May to August. But still, that has been announced right off the back of the announcement that The Witcher Blood Origin, the spin-off sequel that frankly does not have the right to exist, is going to be premiering on Christmas Day this year.
I don't know about that one. Now this is okay. I got two interesting bits. First of all, I must confess I have not seen or played The Witcher. However, I am currently reading the very final book in the series. So I read all the books. I love the books. They're brilliant. I really enjoyed them. I think they're really well written, really interesting ideas. And I'm keen to see the series, but I kind of told myself, you know what? I think it launched when I was halfway through the run. So I went, I'm going to finish the book series and then watch it. So I'd be interested to see that. Can I also note we mentioned The Matrix, obviously previously just then, which was created by the Wachowskis. The Wachowskis started live writing comics, and in the late 80s and 90s wrote Hellraiser comics.
Oh my God, it's all connected.
Henry Cavill, Superman, who we've just mentioned, Witcher, starred in the terrible direct-to-video Hellraiser sequel, Hellraiser Hellworld, in 2003, when he was 7 or something. So it's all coming together.
Oh my God, it's all connected. Everything's linked together. There is no separation. Everything's cohesive. Everything is homogeneous.
Dear God.
There's more.
No.
I swear I did not plan this. Oh God. I just want to announce it because I know some people, I have read part of the first book, which is basically a compilation of short stories. I found it a little bit difficult to get into. I am going to make it a conceited effort to try and get into it. I read season 1. I saw season 1 of The Witcher and got about halfway through season 2 before I realized, wow, I actually don't care about this at all. I have played The Witcher 3 multiple times. I've not played the other 2 Witcher games, but I've played The Witcher 3 multiple times, and that's an awful lot of fun. It's one of the best RPGs ever made. I would not recommend starting the game until you have finished all the books. It does a pretty good job of explaining what I think is going on, but some things are not very well explained. And also, there are 2 games before The Witcher 3 that are range from complete and utter dog shit to okay. Maybe read a synopsis of those 2 games before going into The Witcher 3, because frankly, they're very disconnected from the other 2 games than the third game anyway. And it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. So that's all I'll say about that, because I don't want to spoil anything. But yeah, we're going to get way more Witcher before we don't. I also saw the animated film based on the young life of Vesemir, which was okay. It was okay. It's absolutely fine. It was okay.
Well, hopefully I'll be watching them this Christmas, probably.
Maybe it depends how quickly you finish the book. But yeah, that they're going to be coming out. So people who are big fans of seeing Henry Cavill shirtless and maybe him having a big, long conversation with his buddy Jaskier, Dandelion, whatever he's called.
Oh, great character.
You're going to see that. If you haven't seen the show, wait until you see him on the screen, because he's actually really good. That was one of the things I actually really liked. But anyway, we're going to move on from that, and that is the end of the news. Since this is the end of the news, it is about time we have some ads. Check them out.
And now we're pleased to bring you our feature presentation.
Hellbound Media. Oh God, so we gave a brief introduction there. So you guys have been going for quite some time, haven't you?
Yeah, about 12 years coming up now, I think. So yeah, let me have a think. 2011, 2021, 2020. Yeah, blimey now.
You did celebrate
11
your
and a
10th
half
anniversary, I know that much.
Yeah, it was sort of pandemic-y. Yeah, it was sort of pandemic-y
we all lost
time.
a couple of years out of that. So you're just like, I'm actually 28 now.
Oh,
no.
Brilliant. I think we could just pause our ages over the pandemic. It's fine.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's just like the end of that one episode of The Simpsons where the judge is just like, and I command that no one else talk about this ever on pain of torture. As far as we're concerned, the status quo has been reset. It's just keep on moving on. And it's that sucks though, because you obviously go to a lot of conventions and you couldn't do that because frankly those are the epitome of super spreader events.
Oh yeah, definitely. And we missed it, but we understood, why. It was a very difficult time for everyone. But as independent creators, especially for ones who perhaps aren't the best at the whole social media side of things, we try, but we really relied on meeting people, talking to people, and it's, you ask me about subjects I love or comics at a con, I will just talk your ear off for about half an hour. But without that, it was definitely challenging. We kept being creative. But we know other companies, other people, I think, were putting out quite a few books through the pandemic. We put a couple out, but it was a lot more challenging. Especially, I mean, I've got small children. They were home all the time, but I was having to work still because I work in education, so I was having to work remotely. So it was just a strange time.
Absolutely. My mum's a teacher, so she had to go through the same thing. And that was awful. I was actually living at home at that time because due to the pandemic, it was just not feasible for me to stay in Edinburgh. And also meant to help take care of my dad because he was ill at the same time, not with COVID, but we were worried about that. So, I mean, we all had bigger things on our mind than maybe reading the latest comic stuff. But at the same time, you got to keep your sanity. I mean, anyone who's been through stressful situations, things like that, over long periods of time will tell you the best thing to do is take care of your basic needs first, and then when you've done that, entertain yourself. That's why that's because it's good for your mental health. And so that's why I'm so glad we're getting back on track now with things like this, because you're getting back on track right now. Because I mean, was it? It's 15 Kickstarters successfully funded over the years. Is that right?
I think 17 now. I think.
Perhaps. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's 17 now, something like that. Yeah, we've done a lot. And you know, it's Kickstarter's been amazing. I think a lot of people in the small press sort of community will say it's a way of getting your work out there, of reaching new people, but also existing fans. And it just helps with the production costs, even if it's just the printing costs, because that's one of the biggest upfront sort of costs you'll get. It's actually printing the final book. So if it just helps with that, it just makes independent comics more viable, I think. And so Kickstarter has been sort of a lifeline for that. And we've had some we had one really successful one relatively recently that did so well that it helped sort of, we had enough extra left to pay for a couple of cons ahead. So it's always nice to already have paid for a couple of conventions, because then we can get the money to reinvest into Hellbound Media. And that's ultimately what we want to do. We don't, again, I always feel slightly awkward talking about it in, I'm going to air quotes, business terms, but we want to be creative, and we can be more creative and have more creative freedom if we can afford it.
You know? Well, here's the thing. You didn't make this an industry, okay? That's not on you. That's on many other people who probably are long since dead. So this is natural causes. I didn't kill them, and you can't prove otherwise. But that's just the nature of the thing. And, you know, people have got to eat. People have got to, we want to get comics, and you can't get anything for free in this world, nor should you. So that's okay. You're allowed. It's always a little bit, we don't want to be gauche and talk about money. But you know what? There's lots of other people talk about money, and they're making a lot of more money than you or I are. So it's okay to occasionally do that. And especially when you're investing the money into yourselves, into your company, and churning out more quality products. Like, for example, this new Kickstarter that's coming out right now for Faith Healers. So let's start fucking talking about Faith Healers already. What's the rundown? What's the sitch? Tell me what's happening. Okay,
well, Faith Healers is more of a urban fantasy, dark fantasy kind of narrative. So we as a company do everything from sort of horror to gore, grossly honest. So this is more kind of supernatural kind of vibe. So in terms of things that inspired it, and I'm going to just mention that a little bit so you get sort of the tone, a little bit of the White Wolf's World of Darkness, a little bit of Buffy, a little bit of Torchwood.
Good reference. Yes.
Yeah,
I've been on a bit of a Torchwood kick. I've been listening to like the soundtrack of Torchwood because the soundtrack is so fucking good.
Oh, it is. It's a great score. Really just beautiful.
It's better than it has any right to be, frankly.
Yes. Better than any right. I mean, the series is better than has. Oh my god, I can't even talk now. Has it's better than anything that's basically an anagram of Doctor Who has a right to be. But there we go.
That is true. That is true.
But it's great.
About that. Wow.
Yeah. That's where it came from. It was when the series 1 of Doctor Who was going out. with Eccleston, when it came back, they were putting on the video files and stuff. They were calling it Torchwood, as so people wouldn't know what it was when they were sending it off.
Okay.
That's the name. But anyway, yeah. So it's influenced by sort of those kind of narratives, and it's called Faith Healers. It's about the kind of hidden contemporary ongoing war between, again, air quotes, demons and angels. Or rather half angels, which are our main characters. They are the Nephilim. So they are the descendants of these, and this, we discussed this previously with the whole Hellraiser thing and the other dimensional thing. We're deliberately kind of vague, I suppose, or we kind of say, look, we don't have the answers. This is thousands of years ago that these angels or other dimensional beings or whatever they were came through.
A mythology within a mythology.
Exactly. There was a war. Now there's Nephilim descendants, half angel, half human. And there's demon ones, half demon, half human. We don't really know where it came from. Some of us think of it religiously, some of us don't. But the idea is we exist in the modern world now, and we need to keep the secret. We stop this war spilling out.
Baby boomers.
So Nephilim all have different sort of abilities or powers depending on their kind of bloodline, where it comes from. And the reason
because there's this thing, demonology has been this thing for fucking centuries, but there's also been like equally like, I don't know what you call it, angelology, like talking about the different kinds and different choirs and hierarchies and bureaucracies of angels and heaven and all that shit.
Oh, exactly. We kind of have an element of that. We tried to, the way we did a prologue, a brand new sort of prologue comic. So we had an original artist, Tony Empson, he did the original lines for the book. And then one of our sort of regular artists, part of the team, Atlantis Vampire, she's done the colours and just brought it alive.
Someone likes Anne Rice.
Well, indeed. And
sorry, I had to.
That's fair. She likes all sorts. She's brilliant. But she basically then has drawn the prologue for this, and the new cover art and stuff. And the prologue features like the shots of the original angels. The way we sort of tried to do it is kind of silhouetted in light humanoid forms, but then the light sort of expands out into these kind of more be not afraid, strange, surreal shapes and images, angels. So we tried to sort of meld again those different ideas of angels and say, what are these beings?
Because when you look at the descriptions of angels in like the Bible or biblical text, they don't look like fucking humans with nightgowns and big like halos around them. They look fucking weird with like multiple eyeballs and teeth and big spirals, like something out of a creepy Japanese manga or something.
Exactly, and we wanted to use that a bit and use that idea as a bit of the backstory.
Now, Capers at home, you don't know this, but Mark has tried to not so subtly move his laptop to another side of the room for some reason. I have no idea why. What's happening, Mark? What's going on? Should I be concerned? Is there someone in the house with you?
No, the plug socket I was in wasn't working, so I need to charge.
Oh, okay.
Or we're going to get rudely cut off.
Fair enough.
There we go. I am now plugged in, sat on the floor with a Dalek behind me.
It is fascinating that you're doing, though, because here's the thing. As people tell lots of stories, and they often revolve around mythology. There's people doing, like, stories based around Norse mythology or Greek mythology, Roman mythology, Japanese mythology, Chinese mythology, things like that. And obviously, we do the same with Christian mythology. We've got tons of things like fucking Lost or the Lucifer series, obviously Sandman, things like that. And it's very interesting to see when we give the Abrahamic religions the same treatment we do the religions of antiquity, because obviously those religions started off as oral traditions. And you go to one village in ancient Greece, they worship Hades in a very different way than they worship Hades in a village over the top of the next hill. Or Poseidon or anything like that. It's very, very different. And yet in Christian mythology, they have this sort of like, I guess you call it standardized law that isn't standardized at all. Because the Bible has gone through so many different types and revisions and translations. And
And I
so
think
it's both static and not static at the same time, which lends itself to so many interesting ways of storytelling that I think those other antiquary religions don't.
I think that's kind of one of the elements what we were interested in. We wanted to sort of base this ground it in a real world. And in the real world, I mean, some people will say they have faith, which, yeah, absolutely. And that's down to them. But there's no definitive answer in the real world. And we wanted this comic to have no definitive answer. And as you say, the Bible, these texts have been written and rewritten over the years. And it's the same in the comic. Therefore, the Nephilim themselves don't necessarily know about their origins. All they know is what's in front of them now, which is them trying to live their lives without people finding out about them, without people wanting to exploit them. And to this end, we have the titular kind of characters, the faith healers, which is a name they're kind of given kind of slightly ironically within the world of the story, although it also...
Because real world faith
works.
Healers are not many people you want to associate with.
No. Well, they're based out of a hospital. They are essentially medically trained. And this comes out of this idea that if you're having a secret society of Nephilim, of things that aren't quite human, how do you keep that secret? You know, especially now with blood tests, science, medical. I thought, and we just sort of went, well, what you need someone to do that, to sort of keep any of that undercover, keep it hushed up, cover it up, or deal with any issues.
For me,
yeah. So so in the faith healers they're based out of All Saints Hospital, and they are a team in Nephilim sort of dedicated to help essentially keep their half-angel heritage secret and keep the Nephilim that live among us secret, because there are demonic forces, but also human forces who would very much like to exploit them and utilize them. And the main for the story is actually a character called Abby. So Abby Ryan's sort of focus character we start with, and she doesn't actually know she's Nephilim. She doesn't realize this. She's completely unaware of it when she starts this new job at All Saints Hospital. So she's sort of the eyes of the reader as they're kind of brought into this world, and she discovers, hang on, you've got this heritage you were never told about and never knew about, and she has this ability she didn't realize quite she has, and she's kind of empathic. So because they all have a different, as I say, abilities, so she can sort of, sense how people are feeling, but also help them with that and sort of emotionally connect. So that's kind of helped her become a nurse.
Feeling angry. Yes, I'm angry. You pushed me over. I sense you're very angry. I am.
That's basically the entire first 2 seasons of Star Trek: The Next Generation with Deanna Troi.
Oh God, yeah.
It's the entire.
I sense that ship is hostile. Oh really, Deanna? Did you figure that before or after they fired their missiles at us?
Exactly.
What is a counselor anyway? Are you just a therapist? Why is a therapist on the bridge? Worf, you're the second most useless person here. Answer me.
We will be watching that through recently. It's around season 3 or 4, they suddenly go, maybe we should actually do something different with her. It does improve, but those first 2 seasons...
I like the character, but my God, what is her purpose? Do you know what I liked about it? I liked it when she was actually starting to get into a relationship with Worf, because there were such polar opposites. Like, he's a big honking brook, and she's like not that. I thought, that could actually be kind of interesting. Then DS9 came around, and he just like fucked off, and it was just like, nope. So... never mind. Here's the thing. With the Worf thing, I get it, because they introduced him, not season 1, obviously, but season 2, they made him security chief because fucking Tasha Yar got killed. Didn't stick, but anyway. And they had to show, we needed to show that this aliens that invaded the ship are really big and powerful. See, they were able to beat up Worf, and he was really strong. And that works the first time you do that. It works the second time you do that. By the 10th time, Worf looks kind of useless.
Yeah,
even though they're just like, what's the point of having security officer? Because just like, they're just going to get beaten up. No, Worf, don't attack it, because you know how it's going to go. You're going to attack it, and he's going to break your arm or throw you over his shoulder or something. You can't do shit. So just stay there and growl and look messy. Maybe talk about honor just a little bit. Okay? Yeah. We'll save you when we talk about Klingon politics. Those are the only interesting episodes you're in.
Yeah, pretty much. That's a fair assessment.
We do like this show, I want to point out. Yeah. This is a show that we actually like.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, dear. What the hell were we talking about beforehand?
Empathy, yeah. The first 2 seasons, next gen. That's how we got onto that. But yeah,
I've got so many other jokes and I can't tell them. Keep on going. Distract me.
Oh, I now want to hear your. No, I don't actually. I completely lost my train of thought. I think we both.
This is the kind of wacky, time-wasting nonsense I've been missing.
Exactly.
No, Soccer, we're going to keep on going. We're keep going. So she's got Emma. They've all got different abilities, which is pretty cool. The thing I really like about this is you don't often see, for want of a better phrase, I know this doesn't quite fit the mold, superhero characters, or people with super abilities at least, working as doctors. The plenty of superheroes out there with the word doctor in the name, like Doctor Strange, Doctor Druid, Doctor Destiny, or some shit like that. But it's rare you actually see them working in a medical professional. I think there was a little bit of time in a more recent last couple of years, Doctor Strange, Roger Copics, where he went back to working in surgery, just in between working as the Sorcerer Supreme. But it's very much like a side thing. It's not really something that is like the job. And he made it the job. I think that's really cool, actually. Especially considering we talk about the pandemic and how much we realized we rely on and should appreciate and fucking pay better medical professionals.
Oh, definitely. And teachers.
Take your balance, man. Come on.
No, okay, fair enough. But yeah, no, definitely. And I think it's an interesting one to sort of, bring up at this time, how much we sort of should really pay attention to what they do. And it's still an action comic. It's still got this kind of element of dark fantasy, because the main group we follow, the Abbey Reeds, the sort of faith healers team, are, as we say, sort of they're investigators, they're field agents. So if something happens, if a Nephilim is attacked, or if there's a demonic incursion in some way, they need to investigate and cover things up or help them out, whatever is necessary, and they use their various abilities to do it. But we also, because what I thought was quite interesting, one of the things I wanted to do about that whole faith element was have the characters who know they are Nephilim and always have known and already in there. They're not particularly religious characters. And there's always the idea of what is faith. Well, faith is something where you don't necessarily know, but you got to believe anyway. They already know they are Nephilim. Whereas Abby, who doesn't, we wanted to make her actually a religious person before she discovers she's half angel. So it just gives her a really different perspective on it, because she does have faith
fuck
in
you
this.
up, wouldn't it?
A little bit.
It's like, I believe in God and Jesus and angels. Well, guess what? You are an angel.
Fuck this shit, I'm out.
Yeah. She takes a lot to kind of absorb it all, but also we kind of slightly cheat by the fact that we decide she's empathic, which actually makes it easier for her to go to take in and absorb this world, because she sort of links to it. And of course, there's mad scientists. We all like mad scientists.
The first rule of being a ninja is do no harm. Unless you mean to do harm, then do lots of harm.
Yeah, the mad scientist does a lot of harm. Yeah, so he
I just wanted to link that to the whole Doctor Rule, but then I forgot that was from Ninja Turtles. So I decided.
Oh, well.
I just went with it. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
I need to label these clips better.
Yeah, it's all good. Sir Mason Rathbone is basically a head surgeon at All Saints Hospital.
Oh, he sounds evil already.
Oh, definitely. He's got an evil name. You got to give him an evil name.
Hello, I am Mason Rathbone, and I shall be your antagonist for this evening. Notice my snooty demeanor and the fact that I'm stroking some sort of animal. Is it a cat? Is it a rat? Is it a gerbil? You don't care. You're just noticing how evil I am. I've got a widow's peak. Ah.
Yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up. He's got that kind of mad scientist who wants to use and exploit the Nephilim for his own ends, which we don't quite reveal why he wants to now, which is why we do have ideas that we want to explore more, so we want this one to go well, but we definitely set him up. And he's kind of, as I said, he's a head surgeon, mad scientist. He has demons as his... or as his servants. And the demons in this, like the Nephilim are half angel. These are more half demons. These are the people who have some kind of demonic bloodline within them. but
Oh, the
because
tieflings from D&D. I get it.
I don't know that one, that particular enemy, but
You don't play Dungeons and
I
Dragons.
do, but I
you?
just don't know those ones.
You don't know tieflings?
Oh, I've heard them, but not really. I've only got limited experience. I've never come across.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
I can talk to you about gelatinous cubes and
Well, everyone can talk about
skeletons
cubes.
and evil gazebos, but that's about it.
I played Dungeons and Dragons with the editor of this show, Alex, there our DM, last night, and they faced us up with an evil goat.
Sounds good.
That we fucking creamed. It was like a giant goat, but we absolutely slaughtered it. And the next villains we faced after that nearly killed all of us. It was a whole thing. We got a little bit too big for our boots after facing down the evil goat. The evil goat had a name.
Was it Jeff?
They named. It wasn't Jeff.
Why
Jeff
not?
I mean,
yeah,
I can't remember.
Jeff the evil goat.
Svarog? No, that's one of the Slavic gods.
Gary?
Something. No, Gary the goat. No, it wasn't Gary the goat. In fairness, it would have been. We wouldn't take it seriously from the beginning. It could have been named Gary the goat, and we'd take it just as seriously. But anyway, I played a monk character that fucking kicked his ass.
I do need to do more D&D. I'd like to. It's just hard always getting the groups. I mean, I run.
Tell me about it.
I run, and also I'm part of 2 Vampire the Masquerade groups. So I do RPG, but D&D limited. I haven't for quite a while.
Well, that goes a long way to explain. I mean, you said there was an influence, but it explains a lot for the start of it. Because it does, it feels very sort of, based on the artwork I can see on the Kickstarter, it feels very sort of late 90s, early 2000s sort of TV horror, which was honestly the best kind of horror. Like you mentioned, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It reminds me very much of a lot of like the Night Stalkers, like the Marvel Blade, Morbius, and Ghost Rider shit that was going on at the time, like the Midnight Suns or whatever they call them. And I really like sort of like I love that imagery of like Daredevil, hanging off of a cross on top of a church and things like that. That sounded kind of like modern urban gothic aesthetic.
Yes. I love that, and I think all the things you just said are pretty much that is, and that era. You're not the first person to say that either, which is great because that's the era we're kind of.
I need to get back to Angel. I don't need to watch Buffy again because I've seen it so many times, but I need to watch Angel again because that's peak. Like Buffy is like the suburban aspect of that. Occasionally go to a crypto or graveyard, but Angel, he's walking down the grim and grimy streets with a big long cape flowing out beside him. Why was Angelus? I'm cursed to be a vampire. Oh, hey, there's a really cool demon guy. Oh, he's gone. Oh, but there's another cool lightning person. Oh, they're gone. Oh, but there's another cool. Oh, they've already gone. We've still got the demon lounge singer. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing. Lorne was just amazing. It was a great series.
Makes me a little bit sad because I know the actor died not long after. But I mean, it just because that sort of aesthetic, it knew that it was just a little bit silly, but it took it just seriously enough with the aesthetic. The characters could be a little bit weird and wacky, and the stories could go a little bit off the rails, but the world they inhabited was fully formed and structured and was immersive, and you could feel like these characters could truly inhabit it. And there are so many, because here's the thing, there's so many media, not necessarily a lot of horror media, but a lot of media today that is just a little bit too tongue-in-cheek, a little bit too self-referential, a little bit too disrespectful of its past. A great example, I think, and this is way out of left field, but still, you ever see the remake of Annie?
No, I haven't.
They did a remake of Annie. And the remake of Annie, the famous musical, It's a Hard Knock Life for Us, all that, it starts off with like a school presentation. And we see a girl who appears to be like the prototypical Annie about to do like a smiley school presentation. She's like, the sun will come out tomorrow. And then she's pushed aside by the new main character, who's actually Annie, who's just like saying, yeah, can you please shut up, please? We're trying to do something else now. And it's just like, not only is that just like, why even bring that up if you want to do something different? Yeah. Why kick the thing that you're based on? But also, if you're going to do that, don't pick the child actor to be that sort of typical Annie. Be the kid who played Annie on Broadway. That's what they did. They took the actor from Broadway. They say, hey, you want to be in the Annie movie? Yeah. Great. You're going to be initially Annie, and then we're going to shove you away for our new Annie that no one is really going to like. And then there's later on a scene where Cameron Diaz and Body Carnival are singing, but he's doing like a song and dance routine, and she's just like, hey, why are you singing? Does anyone notice that he's singing? It's just like, Cameron, it's a fucking musical. We've been doing these for, 100 years at this point? Nearly 100 years? Fucking, that's part of the style. It's part of his aesthetic. You're not being clever. You're being fucking distracting. Just settle down, relax, and fucking enjoy yourself.
Which
Choke on a slice of shut up cake, you unfathomable swamp crab.
Yeah, I did go a little bit off the rails there. I just don't like it when things just get a little bit too smarmy for their own good. This does not feel like that, is the point I was trying to make through my rage and spit.
And I was going to say, you made me think the Buffy musical just gets it perfectly. It just tonally, it's loving.
That was one episode.
Yeah,
you know, that was one episode, and it was built as a vehicle for delivering a lot of character development and exposition. Because the show was clever like that.
Yeah.
A lot of those shows, a lot of those movies, a lot of those comics were clever like that. And it's sad to see so few media these days doing these things, because we are living in a new golden age of reboots. I remember about like 5-10 years ago, there's this meme going around saying, here's all the original films made in Hollywood in the 1970s, here's the original films made in the 90s, and here's all the original films now that aren't like remakes or sequels or whatever, and the disparity is obviously vast. I reckon those digits have probably doubled, if not quadrupled, right about now, because, yeah, we're glad to see a new Hellraiser movie, but we have seen a lot of Hellraiser before. This is why I respect the horror genre, because I think horror, while they have fallen victim to that on more than one occasion, nowadays they're doing that the least. They take ideas from the past, ideas and aesthetics and themes, and they run with them and use them to tell new stories. I think Blumhouse is doing an awful lot of that, A24 are doing a lot of that, and obviously you guys are doing an awful lot of that.
Oh, we are.
And
we'd like to think so.
I think you absolutely are, and because it works. It works, and you notice that all of those movies, the studios I mentioned, are doing quite well now. Whereas I just saw like Lionsgate again, like 10 years ago, was on top of the game. They're making a lot of not good films, but they were making a lot of films, and now they introduced like this brand new like Nutcracker animated movie that I swear, even though Lionsgate is, I think it's an American production company, I swear it looks dubbed because the lip movements don't quite work. And the CGI does not look fantastic. It's kind of sad. It's kind of sad. We're going way off the rails right here.
Way off, but it's all good. No, don't let me get in the way of a good rant.
Oh, trust me, I absolutely won't. So let's talk about the Kickstarter right now. The Kickstarter. So Kickstarter recently been up, and it's gonna be up until
another 14 days. You want me to actually work that out now? Oh, another 2 weeks.
If you could.
The 9th of October, I believe, is roughly where we'll be.
Into the spooky season we go.
Into the spooky season. We do love the spooky season. It's our favourite time of the year.
I love the spooky season because I live in Edinburgh, and we have the Samhain Fire Festival, which is like a bunch of pagans dressing up in like Celtic outfits and going around the streets of Edinburgh screaming at people, then going up the top of Carlton Hill and flinging fire around while drinking lots of alcohol.
I mean, that's just Bristol on a Saturday night, to be honest, but there you go.
Yeah, but it's the pageantry of it all, because Samhain is like the Celtic festival transition of one season from another. Samhain is actually like, it's like the word for November or something. I can't quite remember. I'm still trying to learn Scottish Gaelic. What do you want from me?
Samhain is Samhain. That's where Samhain is a corruption of Samhain. And then Samhain.
Well, in Scotland we say Samhain. In Irish they might say it slightly differently.
Yeah.
But yes, Samhain. If you ever say Samhain, you're saying it wrong. That's Celtic language, either Gaelic or Gaelic. You're not pronouncing it correctly. Fucking look it up on Duolingo or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But and this is This is why I love it when Americans try to do a Halloween movie based on that or something like that, because they just get it so wrong. It's just like, no, it's just like a seasonal holiday. It's got nothing to do with like spooky stuff or anything. It's just it's a fun time for pagans to get half naked and scream people's faces with face paint on their head. Like, that's it. Which sounds a little bit scary, but honestly, it's more fun than anything else. Yeah. Anyway, so like I said, October the 9th, and it's going pretty well so far. I love the you've put a lot of artwork out there. It looks really, really cool. The cover art in particular looks great. That looks like peak aesthetic of what we were talking about. In particular, I do like the character. I don't know a lot about this character. I like the character with the pointy ears and the sort of the shaved sides of the head, the mohawk, and like the choker. That's very 90s.
Oh yeah, that's Lily. So Lily, again, she's one of our sort of favorite characters, I think, generally. She is what we would call, she's got both Nephilim and demon heritage, so she's sort of torn between the sort of two,
that's gonna be
two
a
worlds
fun Christmas dinner.
Oh yeah. Yeah, past the fire and brimstone. Anyway, yeah. She's sort of
got the manna. No one cares, Dad. I got you Tupperware for it. It's manna. It'll keep. You don't need Tupperware. You're just trying to show off. I'm sorry. I don't know.
That was great. But she's got that aesthetic all over though. You're absolutely right. And again, it's that kind of feel that we're going for. And I'm glad you like the cover art, because again, the cover art is done by Atlantis Vampire, and she's just stunning what she's done with it, and her sort of take on the characters as well. And we know she's sort of the artist. If we are able to make a success of it and do anything else with the characters, she's kind of going to take it and run and be the main artist on the project sort of now, whereas Tony had done the lines on the original black and white.
Because this is sort of like a collection. It's would you say reprinting?
Ish, but not. If that makes sense.
Because they've got so many
it makes me think
new material for it.
It feels kind of, have you ever it's that Simpsons quote, if I've not seen it before, it's new to me, kind of thing. Simpsons is new.
I know what it is. It's what all the video games are doing these days. Remaster.
Excellent. Yes, that's the one. Well, essentially,
I can't play The Last of Us Part 1 again. So
yes, you can.
I can't.
And you can play Skyrim again. And Grand Theft Auto 5 again. To be fair, Grand Theft Auto 5.
Start with me, because they're based here, and I'm fucking rockstar tax dodging cunts. But anyway, we're not going to go. Seriously, look up the shit they do. I am so ashamed that they're based over here in Edinburgh. But anyway.
Essentially, we've already talked about 12 years ago. 12 years ago, we started Hellbound Media, and we did, as part of that original did a couple of black and white simple issue releases of the original version of what is now this Faith Healers book. We probably had like 50 copies printed up. This was back in the day when the majority of comics were still photocopied. And when you went to a Comic Con, it was just a sea of black and white photocopy. Well,
again, very 90s, sort of like the whole Xerox sort of thing, zines or zines, whatever you call them, things like that. Obviously, we've got to make sure we get this stuff out here, and it looks really, really cool so far. So, let's say, Blue Sky thinking it's all going to go out fine. I'm sure it absolutely will do, because we're going to provide a link in the show notes, capers. Click that link and get over to the Kickstarter. But this goes through great. What's the future of Faith Healers? Is this going to be it, or can we expect to see more?
Well, if we can get this Kickstarter going, then we are definitely going to start exploring more. We have more stories to tell. We have more we want to explore of it. This, to us, is kind of the world building. We talked about that a bit earlier, how Angel Buffy, this is the introduction of the world, the characters, telling a solid self-contained story within that. But then we've got those pieces and we want to play with them a little bit more. So we kind of envisage a limited number of books, not like a completely necessarily ongoing, but we've got a kind of story beats of where it could go.
You've got a plan.
Yeah, we've got a plan.
It's good to have a skeletal outline, because if you set something in stone and later on, you might change your mind and then something doesn't work. But if you've got a vague outline, that means you can adjust and, chart the course as you go, which is the best way to do it. And we'll talk, we'll sort of finalize about how you can find out more about that kind of stuff after we have, last time this episode, some ads. Check them out. Now, Capers, we do a lot of legwork here for you on this show. We provide you links to show notes for Kickstarters we think you'll be interested in, and we try to promote as many people as we can. But you know what? Maybe we've been working a little too hard. Maybe you need to do some legwork. Maybe get out of the house a little bit, get out of your mum's basement. So, Mark, what kind of comic conventions can we expect to see you guys at so the Capers can go and meet you in person?
Okay, wonderful. We've got a few lined up. We started off following, the pandemic, as doing a little fewer, but we're sort of building up with more and more. We're actually, next week, we are not actually at a comic convention. We're at Grimfest in Manchester, which is a Grim Up North. It's a horror and dark fantasy film festival. So we're going to be
tonight
there.
at 11.
Doom!
Exactly. After that, you can find us at the premier British comics event, Thought Bubble.
Yeah.
Are you going to be there?
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. I've not been to comic convention quite a while because of the pandemic, and also just because I got my own shit dealing with. The reason why we only just started talking about like the Queen and everything that happened this episode rather than more recently is because I had to take a week off because organizational things, very busy work, and also I sometimes, sadly, these days have to take a little bit of a break from the show to help my mental health. And I do want to go back to comic conventions, but I am taking things slowly for myself. I think it's been for a little bit while, and it's been working for me. I'd like to go. We will see. Try not to look for me in the crowd like, will he be here? Will he come? And then I arrive just in my new sparkly white uniform, and it's just like playing Love Lifts Us Up Where We Belong. No.
Honestly, because you gestured towards your head there, honestly, thought you were saying I arrived just in my glasses. I thought, what? Nothing else.
Reflected in your glasses. Like,
just the
represent that I'm always on your mind.
Oh. Okay, so Thought Bubble is going to be the big one, which is amazing. And if you like comics and indie comics and you're in the UK, get up to Harrogate, get to Thought Bubble. It is, go to any Comic Con, to any comic village, and then just imagine that comic village is the entire convention. That's Thought Bubble.
As well it should be at a comic convention.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my thing. Most people do these days just call them conventions. We don't really call them.
Pop culture
San Diego,
events.
New York, exactly, which is fine. I'm absolutely fine with that. But if you're going to call it a comic convention, don't relegate it to Comic Village. Don't have like your segregated little comic ghetto somewhere down in the corner for where we fucking pin Marv Wolfman and the rest of them in.
I mean, have a Comic Village if you're going to put the Comic Village front and center. If it's going to be Comic Village, not it's behind the barriers next to the toilets, mate. Mind the smell, which we've actually had a couple of times.
Right.
Yeah, but
actually, I remember what was the last? I think that was the last comic convention I went to, but we were at a convention I think that you guys were at a couple of years ago. Was it in Leamington? Was that the one in the church?
That was pretty cool. Being in the church.
That's the weirdest one I've ever been to. Was just in a church. That would probably give you some inspiration for this.
Oh yeah, I mean definitely.
I mean, I live in Edinburgh, so you have to remember is that like half of our churches have been repurposed into something else. If you ever come up to Edinburgh, here's where you want to go. You want to go to a church that is now a Frankenstein-themed restaurant.
Yes, I do. In fact, I'm tempted to go there now because that sounds amazing. Get in the car, drive up.
Hall.
That's amazing.
It's so cool. It's so cool. Like Frankenstein's monster gets lowered down from the ceiling. They got all the old black and white horror films playing a loop inside on TVs, like into the walls and things like that. I haven't been in there in ages.
Well, hopefully, Edinburgh will have a Comic Con for us to go to next year. Fingers crossed.
Hopefully.
And
Did we actually mention any of the comics? You said you're going to
Thought
Thought Bubble.
Bubble.
Any ones after that?
Wales, Wales and Telford, which isn't in Wales, but Wales Comic Con, Telford Takeover in December, always amazing. Yeah, I always say the Wales Comic Con has the size, the scope, and the guests of a major kind of MCM level con, but the kind of feel and community of a small con. That's always the way I sort of look at it, and it's
Life is good,
yeah,
but it can be better.
it can be better if you come and buy our comics. That would definitely
Exactly.
improve life. It's been scientifically proven by a team of crack ex-Russian Soviet scientists.
Oh God. Yeah, why not? Why not? Absolutely. That's indisputable research that cannot be called into question.
Exactly.
On that cheery note, that is so cool. Last thing we're going to say about this is that Capers, go to the Kickstarter, link in the show notes, and make sure you go and back this thing because this is going to be super, super cool. Always happy to recommend something from Hellbound Media once I've checked it out. Don't just say you should go to things because they happen to be on the show. Don't you worry. It is really cool. If I like it, you're probably going to like it. But let's be honest, I am the arbiter of all things good in the media world. I think we know this by now.
Definitely.
But on that very self-aggrandizing note, I think it's about time we end the show. Thank you very much, Mark, for joining us today.
It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. For my nice spot on the floor here, it's been good to hopefully see you again.
Right next to the World War II Dalek poster.
I know. That's the only thing still in this room, I think. But
Can't see it right now because I've got a poster up here of the TARDIS exploding in the Van Gogh style.
Beautiful. Great episode.
Say what you like about the Moffat era. They did have a lot of cool aesthetic merchandise.
Oh, yeah.
And if you enjoy the show, Capers, please tell your friends, shout it from the rooftops, and if you haven't already, go back and listen to some of our super episodes, like episode 75, Mandy the Monster Hunter. Mark was there in 2018.
Wow.
That was. My God, feels like a lifetime ago. But that was an all fun. Go and listen to that. And once you've done that, also, please be aware you can listen to the show on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, or podcapers.com. If you want to get in touch with us, suggest show topics, or maybe come on the show yourself, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at AP2HYC. Thank you very much to Dan Harris for our logo, the lovely microphone, the red and blue 3D glasses. Those are mine. And thank you for listening. This has been Podcapers, the official podcast of a place to hang your cape. Cue the music!